my name is Jaclyn Harris and I am an IVF and pregnancy strategist. So I'm a natural fertility expert, I'm a naturopath, and I'm also a hypnobirthing practitioner. And I love to help women through their fertility journey, through IVF struggles, to help them create the baby that they want, the positive pregnancy, but it's really about the life and the dreams that they have. So I am going to share with you tonight a little bit about my own story about IVF, and I want to share with you some of the tips that I have. This is just the beginning. I have literally hundreds of topics that I've written down that I want to talk to you about in here. So stick with me. If you do have any questions, feel free to post them here. I'm not going to mention anyone's names as the questions pop up. Post questions away if you want to. I am going to hopefully have Christy Smith joining me. Christy Smith is a health coach and she specializes in preconception and pregnancy. And so she calls herself the IVF BFF because she really loves to be that support or best friend person to people as they're going through IVF. So I'm hoping Christy joins me. But while I'm waiting for her to pop on, I am just going to maybe share with you a little bit about my own story. I know that I have told this in a video before, but I'm going to share it with you again now. Please say hello if you're there and let me know that you can hear me okay. So my own story with IVF starts 14 years ago. I was working in a natural fertility clinic specializing in fertility and IVF preparation, and was just about to, one day, this was 12 years ago now, just about to enter a full day of seeing patients when my husband phoned me and told me that he had some test results and was likely going to be hard for us to conceive a child. They didn't know that we'd be able to conceive even with IVF. I can tell you now that was one of my hardest days in clinical practice, and anyone who knows me and anyone that I've ever worked with will tell you that I care more about every single patient than people have ever seen before. And that day I still gave 100% to everyone, but my insides were crying because I had seen so many other women face fertility and IVF struggles, and I knew now in that moment that my life was going to take on that story too. In the end, it became quite challenging for my husband and I, so we ended up leaving our jobs and packing up our home, moving countries, and just focusing on some other things for a couple of years, a few years actually, 5 years, until we were really ready to actually face our fertility journey. And then we did start IVF. And when it came to me starting IVF, I thought, right, I have all these tools in my toolkit that I've been using for years to try and help women, and now I need to bring them into my own life easily. And so I guess I probably did streamline some things, and I did also add in quite extra things that maybe I wouldn't have asked everyone to do because I thought it would be too much stuff. But when it came to me wanting to do IVF, I wanted to do absolutely everything, and I'm saying absolutely everything in capitals of every single letter. I wanted to do absolutely everything that I could to try and give our IVF cycles the very best chance of them working. And each time, so the first couple of cycles we did in Dubai, and it was on the second cycle there that we conceived our first daughter, and had our first daughter in Dubai before we moved back to Australia, came back to Tasmania, and then ended up conceiving twins on our second cycle here. And I guess like every woman that goes through IVF, I really did have some really big lows, and I had some days where I cried a lot. I had fear, but I really did try and keep my focus on everything that I did know and everything that I could control, because I felt that that was really, really important to my mind, because our mind impacts our body so much. Look, as I'm talking here, I don't think Christy's here with us in this video right now, so I'm just going to continue talking, and if she joins us, then she will. But I don't want you to think I'm just yeah, I'm not trying because I can't see her there. And so as I was going through the IVF cycle, I literally would take a lot of tablets every day. I was doing meditation every day. We were really focusing on our diet, our movement, support with our friends. So there is a lot of different stuff that I was doing. And I said, I've got hundreds of topics that I want to share with you about ways that I think that you can also prepare for your IVF cycle, or how to cope during the cycle. But I guess after going through my own personal journey with IVF, after professionally working in it for so long, I now know that this is exactly the space that I am going to be working in for a very, very long time, because I really want to help lots of women exactly going through what I went through and what you're going through. I know what it's like, and I know what it's like to go to a baby shower or see a friend's belly and wish that was you. I've been that woman. And I guess because I've also worked in it, I do have some tools to help you through that, and I want to help you through that. And I also want to help you through your preparation, because I want, when you go through IVF, I want you to give it the very best chance you can of it actually working. I want you to feel good when you go through it. And I also want you to be able to look back and say that you enjoyed parts of the cycle. I'm not saying that I enjoyed every moment of my IVF cycles, but I can definitely look back and say that I enjoyed them. And when I speak of my cycles, I have a happiness in my heart, and even the ones that didn't work, I have really fond memories of the close connection that it helped create with my husband, the closeness that brought to our relationship. And so I really want to help you with that too, because I know that you're desperately wanting that baby. And if you're doing this with a partner, I know that you're doing it because together you want to create a family, and you want to feel close when you're actually doing it. So I want to help you with all of those things. Now, because Christy's not here, I'm going to share some of the information that she just shared in the Instagram live that her and I did together. So if you want to follow her, you can look her up on Instagram. She's Christy Smith, the IVF BFF, or you can look her up as Kin Health, K-I-N Health. And Christy was telling the stories and her tips on how she thinks that one of the most powerful things that you can do is by asking lots of questions. So when you're on the phone to your nurses or you're in a consultation with your doctor, ask all the questions that you need to get all the information that you need. Because Christy was telling me how that really was something that empowered her during her cycles, and it was the thing that helped her cope by being able to get all the information. And Christy said how she doesn't think that necessarily comes easily to everybody to ask those questions, but it is really important. So her tip was, make sure you write everything down and be prepared for those phone calls. And Christy said that she would always speak to the nurses at the end of the day. She would be the last person on the phone, so that she would have plenty of time to ask all the questions before they needed to get another phone call. And I think that's a really useful tip if you feel like you need to occupy someone's time by asking all of your questions. The other top tip that Christy had was to make sure that you speak to yourself as if you would to your best friend. So, if that means having a nap one day or going for a gentle walk instead of over-exercising, then do that. So be your own best friend. But also, she was saying, make sure you have the right support of someone there with you, and that might not be your husband. You don't have to be going to tell everybody about what you're going through, but just make sure you have someone that you're really connecting with to help you through your IVF cycle. I will try and get Christy on as a guest another time, because I think she has a really powerful message in her role as the IVF BFF, and that having someone to support you in a friend, that really strong confidant, can be really important for IVF. So I'm definitely going to try and get her back on. But while I'm here, I want to tell you some of my top tips to go as you're going through or preparing for IVF. And the first thing that I think that you need to do or to be aware of is that I hear women talking to me all the time how they're fearful that their cycle won't work. And I just had this conversation with a woman today. They're fearful that they might not get pregnant, and therefore they try and preserve their own feelings, their heart, their emotions in some way. And honestly, I don't think you can, because I think that there's this part of you that even though you're pretending it's not something you desperately want, ultimately this is something that you desperately want. So my suggestion is go all in, because if you go all in and the cycle doesn't work, you are going to be heartbroken, and there is going to be grief to work through, and you will have to plan another cycle if that's what you're going to do. But the other side of that, if you pretend you're not going all in and you try and preserve yourself or you hold yourself back, I can tell you now, I've seen this with hundreds of women, you still feel heartbroken, and you still feel the grief, and you still have to work out what you're going to do next. So my suggestion is go all in and do everything that you can, and throw your heart and your emotions and every part of you into that cycle, because this just might be the cycle that you create the baby that you're dreaming of. And you might be telling this story to your dear little baby one day, and I want you to remember parts of that with fondness. So my first tip is go all in. I don't think you can protect yourself from the heartache that comes with IVF if the cycle doesn't work. So go all in. My second tip for you going through IVF, this is kind of my second and third tip, is to take control of what you can take control over. And there are many parts of the cycle that you cannot. Like, I could not control what drugs, nor would I want to, because I don't know the drugs. I don't know the strengths. So I had no control over what the doctors were putting in my body. I did not have control over what day I was supposed to turn up for my scans, for my blood tests. I did not have control over what day was egg collection day, or the time that I was doing my embryo transfer. That was all taken control of by the clinic. But the two things that I think you really can, or two of the things that I think you can really take control of, are your preparation for the cycle, and preparation during the cycle, and after that part. So once you start it, take control of how you're coping during and how you're coping during the 2-week wait, because that's another whole experience in itself. So let me break this down a little bit for you. During the preparation of your IVF cycle, I think some of the tools that you can use, and I can't go into all of this with you tonight because I really just wanted to reintroduce myself and give you some information to take away. My very first suggestion in preparing yourself for your IVF cycle is to look into supplements. And those supplements, you might probably need to talk to a health practitioner. I'm available for consultations, either online or face-to-face. So you might talk with me. If you have a practitioner, you might speak to someone else that you trust. But research and talk to your practitioner about supplements that are going to help get you and your partner in the very best health that you can possibly be in. And I don't just mean health as in feeling good, because you probably feel just fine, but I mean make sure that every single cell in your body is as healthy as it can be. That is particularly the eggs, and for him particularly the sperm, because they are just cells of your body. Because we do want to make sure that they are coming to a healthy egg and a healthy sperm. Those two healthy ingredients are coming together to make a really healthy embryo. So my tips for you would be to talk to your practitioner, if you're as the woman, to see whether coenzyme Q10 might be a possibility for you. Coenzyme Q10 is a really powerful supplement that can help with egg health and egg quality. It provides energy to the fuel of your cells. Oh, hi, Christy. I can see that you're saying you're having troubles getting on. I can't seem to add you. This is the first time you've popped up on my video now, but I can see other people and I can add them, but I can't seem to add you. Keep trying, please. I hope you've heard that I've tried to give people your wisdom. Maybe you want to type away with some wisdom if you can't jump on. So perhaps looking to see whether with your practitioner whether coenzyme Q10 might be a good supplement for you to take. But fish oil is another really good supplement. But talk to your practitioner or talk to me to work out whether either of those two supplements might be beneficial for you. For your partner, a really simple tip and something worth researching is whether or not zinc or vitamin E might be beneficial for them. What that comes down to is actually looking at the parameters on the semen analysis, and likely with someone who's looking at the semen analysis from optimal, like is each parameter as good as what possibly can be to help in the conception of a healthy embryo. And when you see that, looking at the count, the motility and the morphology, are these as good as what they can be to help with the conception of a healthy embryo, even if they're using ICSI? Even if they're literally going to be injecting the sperm into the egg, you still want to make sure that you've got really, really healthy ingredients. And depending on what's coming up on the semen analysis, there's lots of different nutrients that I might prescribe, but zinc and vitamin E are two really common ones that I might look into prescribing. So you can either talk to me about that, or you might want to talk that to your own practitioner as to whether or not they might be useful nutrients for you to look into. Now, during the cycle, I also want you to prepare for how you're going to cope. I think that's a really useful thing for you to do, and that might be meditation, or it might be breathing exercises. Again, there's a whole gamut of things that I'm wanting to talk to you about over different times. But the other thing that I'm specifically going to focus on with you right now is preparing your body for the healthy implantation of the embryo. Now, if you didn't know it, your immune system is actually a really important piece of the puzzle to help the embryo implant. And this is whether you're trying to conceive naturally or whether you are going through an IVF cycle. And your immune system can actually stop that embryo from implanting, or it can help. In some ways, we need your immune system to shut down ever so slightly so that it doesn't attack the embryo as a foreign body. So regulating your immune system and having a really healthy immune system is really important through the IVF cycle, but especially so during that 2-week wait. So make sure you are looking after your immune system and keeping it really healthy and strong. And again, talk to your practitioner, talk to me, and work out how we can get that immune system to be in the best possible position to help with the implantation of an embryo. So I guess they are the top tips that I wanted to share with you tonight. I was hoping we'd talk a lot more about Christy's and my stories together, but I don't think that we're going to get that working tonight. So I hope that you can take away these practical tools as things that you can start to work on. So I'm going to recap them with you. The first top tip is to go all in. Let yourself, surrender yourself to the cycle, and I hope that you get to the other side of it with really positive news. And if not, I promise you, you will still be sad whether you try to protect yourself or not. So go all in, enjoy the cycle, enjoy the parts of the cycle that you can enjoy. And I hope that you're telling your very own little baby that story someday soon about the cycle that you went through. My two next tips for you about preparation, but prepare your body first so you've got really healthy eggs and that your partner has really healthy sperm. And talk to your practitioner or talk to me as to whether or not coenzyme Q10 and fish oil might be two good options for you, and for your partner whether zinc and vitamin E might be options for them based on the specifics that come up on their semen analysis. And the third tip that I want you to prepare for is knowing that your immune system is a really important piece of the puzzle when it comes to embryo implantation. So making sure that your immune system is healthy and that it can adapt to allow the embryo to actually implant into the lining of the uterus. So I hope you find those tips helpful. You can reach out for me for consultations, like I said, but you will, if not, you can private message me if it's a short question. If it's something really specific to your cycles, it is best for me to be able to help you with a consultation. But if it's just a general question, I'm happy for you to message or share here in the group. There's a question here that has been put to me that I want to cover, and it says, how do you avoid becoming obsessed with the process or achieving the outcome? There's a couple of things that I want to mention about this question. The first, I actually think it's impossible to avoid becoming focused on it. When you are giving yourself daily injections, when you are you have to keep a very close track of the dates because you have scans, you have blood tests, you have embryo collection, you have to organize work, you have to organize to finish early, you have to duck out now because you need to have your injection at a specific time, you need to have your trigger at this time of night, so you therefore can't go out for dinner or whatever it is. I think it's really very hard for you not to become very focused on it. Let me teach you a little bit about your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind cannot not focus on something. So it's impossible for you to tell yourself, I don't want to focus on it, or I won't become obsessed about it. Well, the only way that you can really work around that is, plan everything that you need to plan. And yes, you probably will be doing injections and all that stuff. The other thing that you can do is try to fill your mind up with other things. And that might be focusing on adding in some nice gentle exercise or getting outside in nature, or it might be that you plan a phone call with a different friend at 8 o'clock every night so that there's something else that you're talking about. So the only way that you can occupy your mind with other things is to put the energy into other things. It's impossible for you to stop thinking about it. Your subconscious mind literally cannot stop thinking about it by just telling yourself that. So fill your mind up with other things and see how that helps. And in terms of achieving the outcome, I hear what you're saying with this question, and in some ways it makes me feel really sad that women feel this way, because it's almost like, and this is the language that's used around IVF, it's that we either succeed at it or we are failing at it. And therefore, so even the language, like I said, doctors will use this language to you, that the IVF cycle failed or the IVF cycle was a success. And therefore, with that, it does give you the feeling that either you achieved something or you failed at it or you did not achieve it. Whereas I think, and what I'd like you to try and focus on, or a bit of a mind perspective or a bit of a mind shift, is to think that each cycle that you go through is another piece of the puzzle, and it's giving your fertility team and your fertility specialists and your holistic team, when I'm working with someone, it's giving us more information to try and help the next cycle. So it's not that the cycle didn't succeed. I like to reframe that and say the embryo didn't take, and maybe they are just words that I'm reframing, but this literally will play out differently through your whole body when you reframe it like that. So saying to yourself the embryo didn't take, or we didn't get any follicles, is different to saying it was a failure or I failed. So if you can try and reframe some of those words, I think that's really useful. And each time you go to an appointment or through a cycle, think of that as really, really valuable information. And maybe, again, it's just another reframe, but I think it can make a really big difference. So the first time I went through an IVF cycle, I got really great information. I did conceive a pregnancy, but it didn't last more than a couple of days. But I got really good information. One, I got the information that wasn't the clinic for me, for lots of different reasons. And secondly, I was then able to take the information about the drugs that they'd used, about the triggers that they'd done, about the way what they'd done after that point in time, to my next IVF specialist. And we used that as information to help me move forward in my next cycle. And I did create a pregnancy with that cycle. It's my first daughter. And whether or not I say that first cycle, no, I didn't achieve a pregnancy, or I didn't have a viable baby at the end of that cycle. But to me, it still was really useful information, and it still helped me on my path to having a family. So I hope that information helps you a little bit. If you're still online with me and you ask that question, let me know if it helped answer that for you at all. And if you have any more questions around that, type them in the box. I can see another comment from Christy saying that she's been having some trouble with technology. I can't even, literally everyone else has the option to bring them on camera. It's just a button, but I don't have that next to your name, Christy. So I will have you on as a guest another time, but I have shared your tips. Hopefully you've heard that. So I can still see there's a few people here with me now. Does anyone else have any other questions for me tonight? Otherwise, I will wrap this up. I hope that helps. I can see a little thank you. If there's, I hope that answered the question for you. By all means, let me know if you want me to clarify it again. If anybody else has another question, please drop it in the comments now, and I will address that for you, because when I do come on live, while I'm always going to have a topic to share with you, I would like to answer any questions that you have. So is there anyone else with me now that would like to ask a question? If not, I want you to take away that information that I've shared with you tonight and think about preparing your body, looking into some supplements either with me or with your doctor, and also your naturopath or your health coach, whoever you're working with. Look into your supplements, and I want you also to think about how you're going to take control of your preparation for the 2-week wait, because that's a really important part of the cycle, and how you can look after your body during that time too. So it doesn't look like anyone else has any more questions for me now, so I am going to sign off. I hope that you have found this information useful. I look forward to connecting with you next week. Like I said, I will have a new information topic that I'm going to be sharing with you, and you can send me through any questions on the night. Technology will work for me easily, so next week when I say I'm here at 7:30, I will be here at 7:30. You can ask me any questions ahead of time or on the night as well. So I look forward to seeing you next week. I'm here in the group every day, so if you've got something that's happened with your clinic or a supplement or a diet, or you've got something that's come up on a test result and you don't know what it means, by all means post a comment or a question in the group. If it's too specific about a particular number on a test or something, that's going to be hard for me to answer specifically, but I can talk around the topic. Okay, guys, I'm not going to hold you up anymore because I'm very grateful that you're still here with me now. I'm wishing you all the very best, and I look forward to supporting you all the way on this journey because I want to help you create that baby that you're really dreaming of. Bye, guys.